and Audit Committee. This is a special meeting, although I like to think that every meeting of the Audit Committee is special. I appreciate everyone being here. We will now move on to take up item number 1 on our agenda, which is public comments. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item within our purview, but not on the meeting agenda. Is there anyone wishing to speak under public comment? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment period and bring it back to the board. We will move on to item number 2, auditor comments on information provided to the committee, discussion and possible action.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rita. How are you?
I'm just fine, thank you. On a beautiful Friday morning, no rain. But in the future. We've been discussing how we present information to the committee and would like to have some input from you as to how you would like it. We've been giving you hard copies, and we can provide it electronically on iPad and Granicus, the iLegislation part of it. The way the board agenda items are, the retirement board's items are, and committee meetings.
Sure.
It is much easier for me, I don't know about the rest of the world, but especially for retirement since there's
Everybody okay with the
taxes.
iPad?
I like hard copy.
You like hard copy, we can continue hard copy. But we can-
I do.
But we
Okay.
can do both, you know, and we have to provide hard copies for the public too.
Okay.
Anyway. The agenda would come email still, and then be provided hard copy here too.
Okay.
However you would like it.
iLegislate works for me.
And we also thought we would, every time, this time we had the bylaws as part of an agenda item in here, but if every time we provided the bylaws at the end of the agenda, and also the audit plan and common terminology, so it would be there for reference during the meeting or while you're reviewing things, to give you more information to help you make your decisions.
I think that'd be great.
So you're in agreement with electronic under Granicus and hard copy too, for Kyler,
Hard copy for me too.
for you too?
I'd expect it from Mike, but not from Kyler. I expect him to be kind of younger and more in tune with technology, but he is a little
My
more.
passenger pigeons are outside.
But that is what we were looking for, because we are working for the paperless in our office and getting rid of storage spaces and everything else.
Yeah, Rita, I'd like to try electronic, but I'd like a hard copy the first time it rolls out to make sure that it's the
Until you get used to it, yeah. Okay. But retirement board is working wonderful.
Oh, I'll take electronic. Does it come on the same
Same place,
place? So I just look for that meeting instead of
Yeah.
the retirement board meeting?
right? It's the same place, same rules, you can, you know, zoom the page, whatever, and it's the same thing, same program. So that's what, we just wanted direction
Okay.
from you guys to help
Right.
you make your decisions better, give you more information that you need.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
It says audit committee meeting.
Okay. Next, we're going to move on then to item number 3 on the agenda, which is a request to approve the meeting minutes from the January 13th, 2017 meeting. Anybody have any questions, corrections? Anything? Okay, Carol, entertain a motion.
Move to approve last month's meeting.
Motion by Supervisor Crocker, second by Spada. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We're next going to move on to discuss the new regular meeting date and time, discussion and possible action.
Your bylaws presently provide for the second Friday of the first month of the quarter. And Mr. Crocker had a conflict with that because of another committee, so we need to find an alternate regular date.
Oh, I think I saw that email come across, didn't we
Yeah.
say, it wasn't like Thursday, the first Thursday, or what was it, or second Thursday? Third Thursday of the, there you go, I think it was. I'm trying to
Third
remember.
Thursday or the
Second
first
Thursday.
Friday were the two options that Melinda sent out.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to go from the top of my head here, Denise, so thank you. Okay, so it looks like Spada prefers the first Friday of the month, and Auditor's Office prefers the first Friday. Peterson prefers the second Thursday. Jason Britt never responds. And I think I indicated the second Thursday would be good, but I'm okay with whatever. Anyone have conflicts with any particular date that they have another conflicting meeting with?
I have no conflict. Is there any conflict with the treasury oversight committee? If you move it?
It's the fourth Thursday.
Okay. Whatever is the pleasure of the board, is fine with me. It's just my personal preference is to do it on Friday.
Okay, yeah,
Mine's Thursday.
your preference is Thursday. Okay, so who's more important? Which attorney? Ian, okay. So right now we're leaning towards Thursday. Anybody have any issues with Thursday? Nope, okay. Looks like we're gonna move it to Thursday since you yourself admitted that the end's more important.
That's right.
So that would be the.
Second Thursday of the month.
We're staying with the first month of the calendar quarter?
Yes,
Okay.
and we'll stay with the 10 o'clock time.
Because we'll bring in amendments to the bylaws back to the next regular meeting to
Okay.
officially approve that.
Are we gonna take as long as we're running, we're gonna take another look at it to make sure that there's nothing that we don't have to change in there?
Right.
Okay. Does that work for everyone? Okay. Sorry, Auditor's Office. Deanne's more important than even you guys, so.
This is gonna come back to haunt you.
Yes, especially when it's self-proclaimed importance, it's very important.
Well, that gives us more 3-day weekends if you want to take vacations.
Yeah, that's true. I'm always looking for that 3-day weekend, Rita. I know how you work. All right, we're now going to move on to item number 5 on the agenda, which is a request to present the memo discussing the inclusion of audit costs in the county's cost plan. Discussion and possible action.
Great.
Do we need to take an action on that last?
We're bringing back a bylaw.
No, I'm
Just
setting
direction.
the direction.
That's setting the
Time
time.
of your limited meeting, you want to do a formal vote?
We can do a formal vote if you want, or I thought we gave direction.
Direction brought back the proposal in the bylaws, and then we'll take action.
It's, you're in informal
It
board.
says possible action.
Well, it's
Let's
also
go
means
vote.
it's not
Let's go
possible
vote.
we take
Yes,
it.
but I'm doing my job by asking if there was an action.
Let's do a formal vote.
It's a good question. Thank you
It
for
is.
bringing it
Thank
up.
you.
I move to approve moving the meeting time to the second Thursday of the month for the first month of the quarter.
Okay, I have a motion from Supervisor Crocker, second by Britt. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, besides the auditor's office? Motion passes unanimously. All right, now we are going to move on to item number 5, which is a request to present the memo discussing the inclusion of audit costs in the county's cost plan.
Thank you. At the previous audit committee meeting, there was discussion regarding whether the internal audit costs are includable in the cost plan. Since that time, we've done some more investigation, contacting with the state controller's office and other counties. We believe the costs of the audit engagements are includable in the cost plan. We have some correspondence with the controller's office. And really what it comes down to is, are the internal audit functions, do they support and strengthen the internal controls of the county? When we talked to the controller's office, they referred us to the federal OMB. The guidance there provided some clarity. Just to quote, it says, internal audit functions and its related costs are allowable. So further correspondence with SCO, they said, audit costs are allowable for cost plan purposes. The county would have to provide support that these types of audits support the single audit, the financial statements, or, and this is the important part, or are part of the county's system of internal controls. So if we can show that the work we do, the engagements, the audits, are part of strengthening our internal controls, they can be part of the cost plan. We had the correspondence. We followed up with a phone conversation with the cost plan supervisor as well as a cost plan analyst that is assigned to us. And that time we reviewed the audits and engagements that we do, that we undertake. We reviewed with them how we work and how the engagements we do strengthen the county's internal controls. We can confirm with them that as long as our audit engagements are classified as internal control engagements in our audit plan, they should remain as allowable in our cost plan. And as you will see in our next agenda items, we've added some language to our audits to focus on internal control language. We also reached out to other counties, San Luis Obispo County, Fresno County, Ventura County, Kings County, Riverside County, and they're doing similar things that we are doing. They're doing risk-based audits and department head change engagements, and they are including those also in their cost plan. So having said that, we did have these discussions with the SEO. We did have correspondence with them. We did ask them to provide in writing formal letterhead giving us thumbs up. They weren't willing to do that. Yeah, so, but we did have direct conversation with them, and we do have email correspondence that's pointing us in the direction that as long as, you know, we're focused on internal controls are allowable. I would also add that in the current fiscal year that we are in, the cost plan has already been approved by the Controller's Office. So what the work we're doing this current year has already been part of the cost plan that was approved. And then for next year, we have submitted our cost plan for next year, which they will review, and we should have word by June, before the end of June, whether that has been approved or not. But we're fairly confident that it will be approved as it is with the work that we currently do. Also, there was a field review done by the Controller's Office last year. They did a field review of our operations, and they signed off on what we did in terms of the audits we do as they are part of the cost plan, and that was approved. So that concludes this report, but I'll be happy to answer questions.
Any questions?
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Did you refer this over to county council at all, or look at the legal analysis?
Not in the past few months, but I don't know if we had done that previously.
And it would be my preference in the future for making a representation to this committee that we're relying upon an email, which essentially can be interpreted as saying there is permission. I'd like to see that included as part of the material so that there's a record of what we relied upon in making the decision.
Okay.
In addition, if I may, Mr. Chairman, in the memorandum, which I think is very thorough and well done analytically, if I may say, when there is an effort to interpret the Code of Federal Regulations, that also be referred to council.
We always want that advice of counsel.
Okay.
See, that's why she's more important.
We learn and we'll do that.
Yeah. Good.
I'd like to say that there are many conversations with the state controller up and down the state with the county auditors on this subject. And they basically made a turnaround from a year ago, what they were saying.
Okay. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to, well, that is possible action too, so before Denise jumps me for not entertaining a possible action, I will look around and see, is there anyone wanting to take any action? You just want to make a motion for nothing?
Just have her say no.
No action, okay?
Well, how about to accept the memorandum?
Because we just
Or
discussed it.
receive the memorandum?
Okay, all right, so there you go, there's your action, Denise, hopefully
Thank you.
that action makes you happy. All right,
So I have a motion to receive the memorandum?
okay, we have a motion from Spada, second from Crocker, all those in favor, please signify by saying
I
aye.
have a principle
Uh-oh,
of the board.
ooh, moving too quick.
Business law. We don't wait for that.
It's already part of the
I thought certain elected officials are above the law, so like Crocker's,
We're
No,
voting
it's
yes.
no, okay. All right,
As an
so,
elected official.
all right, so we do have a motion by Mr. Spada, second by Supervisor Crocker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ah,
Correct.
Are we right? Are we right? Are we good?
Receive.
I
We accept.
approve and
Okay.
receive the memo.
Are we good?
There was no approval.
Come on, guys, we're losing order here. Let's get this together. Come
See,
on.
that's what catches good.
All right.
Send back.
So we have a motion, a second, and a unanimous vote, regardless of what council is trying to distract us and saying. All right, so now we're going to move on then from item 6 to item 6, which is a request to undertake a budget analysis of the 2016-2017 engagements and an analysis of average hours and cost for the engagements. Discussion and possible action.
Thank you. Yes, at the previous meeting also, there was a request to look at the budget, the work that's currently being done by our department. On this agenda item, you'll see our current engagements, and we can review the progress of these engagements in the next item. But I did want to show that these are all the engagements that we are currently working on or have completed in this fiscal year. The cost estimated at approximately $82,000. This is at the total cost. This is the total cost at the completion of the engagements. This cost was based on the average time spent on these engagements over the last 3 fiscal years. The costs of these engagements, if we turn to the next page, page 2, lists the employees involved in these engagements, an average cost of the types of audits or cycle engagements or audits. And depending on the size of the department may change the amount of work that will be done. Large departments will take more time. So this is kind of an average cost per engagement. So we take employees involved, the amount of time involved, figure out a full audit would cost this amount, a cycle audit would cost $50,000. And that's how we came up with the total budget for our current work, which comes out to about $82,000.
Question, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Sure.
All right. Looking at the table on page 2, is it correct for me to interpret that you're not going to be using an Auditor 1 or Auditor 3 for these engagements?
Right now, we are in the process of hiring, hopefully an Auditor 1 or an Auditor 2. It's possible that they could be involved in a future engagement. If so, their rates will be a lower rate.
I'm not arguing for that because one with more experience will be more efficient.
Yes.
There won't be a learning curve aspect. And then having to engage an Auditor 2 to review that work, you see the duplication possibility there. I like the Auditor 2, but I also like to see Auditor 3 work in there to quickly review the work so that by the time it gets to the principal or the chief, it's not a substantial review.
Right. We had an Auditor 3 as of a few weeks ago. We decided he should be a principal auditor. He was promoted from Auditor 3 to a principal auditor, so we will work to fill.
We have some vacancies.
What's that?
We have some vacancies.
Yeah. Okay. Any
I just have
questions?
I just have a question on the first page, the last column that's at the top, the 2015-16 actual cost.
Yes.
I'm assuming that's not showing that, because in your next column over to the left, it's 2016-17 actual cost. So somehow the audit last year was $16,000 and it's only $173 this year.
That's right. The 173 is the cost in the current fiscal year.
It's mentioned.
Yeah, it's.
So
Yeah, it was
essentially-
carried from one fiscal year over into the next.
I'm just making sure I was
Yes, you understand.
So if,
Yes, you may ask a question. Go ahead. Just want to remind you of the level of importance. Go ahead, Deanna.
so because that last column only extends down through risk-based audits category, these other ones further down, am I to assume they started in,
That's
only in 2016?
Or, yes, 16, yes.
Current fiscal year.
Okay.
Actually, I asked them to put in that 2015-16 column because I didn't want you to think that this audit only cost $173.
Right. I'm still wondering how HHSA's is 92% done, the 6,000, Little County Council estimated at 84.
There's a lot more to read through in the council.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So, in the 2016-17 column of actual versus estimated, are any of those actual costs, or are we still estimating?
Well, the ones that are 100% completed would be actual costs. The ones that are close to 100%
Are
pretty much
Okay.
there.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Question. With regard to requested engagement of Korea Delta, I see that 72% complete. The actual cost is just under 10,000. Who's paying for that audit?
So normally, the remainder of these audits would be part of the cost plan. But a request for engagement would be an engagement that is charged to the department.
The direct charge?
Yes.
So in this case, it's
Directly
charged
to
directly to
Korea.
the district.
It's charged to HHS.
HHS requested it.
Oh,
Okay.
Jason gets it.
Is it if I may, Mr. Chairman, is it a pass-through, then a payment of the cost, or HHSA absorbs that cost?
The agency.
What is it an audit of?
So we're auditing work that they did for you, is that what it is?
What's it an audit of?
It's an audit of the contract between HHSA and the Health Foundation. It's the NEOPP program, nutrition, education, and obesity program.
All right, so for clarity, are we auditing the financial activities of the district alone, or we also auditing the financial activities of the agency, HHSA, as related to that contract?
We are making sure that Korea Delta complies with the contract between HHSA. Because I think Korea Delta Foundation is the contractor. They gave us a list of procedures that they want, HHSA gave us a list of procedures that they want us to perform, such as salaries testing and travels testing, and making sure that they were in compliance with the contract for making sure that the Latino event was performed. So it's like a compliance. It's not an audit.
Maybe it
so
ought
it's
to be vendor compliance
Yeah.
audit rather than naming another public agency as the vendor. Because that gets confusing. It makes it look like we're auditing Korea Delta.
It's just a contract, we're just making sure that.
So maybe we ought to call it contract compliance audit or something like that.
Yeah, we don't call it audit, it's anything about procedures.
Or whatever, contract. Because
I'm
it gets
sorry.
confusing to the committee, but
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, could you go closer to your microphone? I can't hear you. What did you say? It's not what?
It's an
not an
agreed
audit,
upon
it's a what?
procedures.
Pardon me?
It's an agreed upon procedures analysis.
Okay. Maybe we'll turn up that mic. Good work.
Just gotta speak up a little louder.
That's called wry humor.
All right. Any further questions or expositions of dry humor?
That's right. Why is it this here?
The DA is always here after the very first department head change audit. That was, all right, anybody have any additional questions, comments, or want to criticize anyone else who's here? All right, seeing none, we'll now move on to, although this does say possible action. Okay, all right, thanks for the clarification there, Denise. We're now going to move on to item 7, which is a request to discuss and approve the 2016-2017 audit plan. It doesn't say action.
Yes, it does.
No, it
It's
doesn't.
approval,
It says approval, but doesn't say formal action. It
though.
says,
Well, you could reject it too, though.
okay, all right, well. Be careful.
Great, thank you. So since there are new committee members, would like to speak briefly about the types of engagements we're doing over
Sure.
that first
Please,
page.
please speak up.
We need the tables closed together.
We could do that too.
Or just maybe take a deep breath and maybe enunciate, pronounce a little bit louder. There's good acoustics in here. Don't be shy. Nobody's gonna be too critical except for Deanne, so just go ahead.
All right. Would like to review some of the types of engagements, the work that the auditor's office does. First one, risk-based audits, and those are the ones that are determined when we come to the audit committee each year to do the audit plan for the year. They consist of auditable areas of the departments, which include cash disbursements, cash receipts, assets, payroll, fee-generated revenue, fiduciary funds, and revolving funds. These would all fall under the cost plan. Also, the work we do includes cash shortage or overages when a department is short in their cash funds. We're made aware, and we might come out and review those shortages to see what happened as to improve our internal controls, again, under the cost plan. Per government code, when there's a department head change, we'll do these consultant engagements. We do about 4 of those a year, we average. And review controls of the departments as the department heads come and go. With our peer review that came and looked at the work that we do, he gave us good advice or instruction that we should be doing follow-up audits. So as we do go out to the departments and we do our risk-based audits, we should be going back to make sure that the suggestions that were made are being followed up on. So they'll take less time, but they are a part of our audit plan. And they're required if we're going to be doing the risk-based audits. So again, they would also strengthen our internal control and fall under the cost plan. And the last type of work we do are requests and engagements as the CLIA Delta contract we just spoke of. And these will be charged separately to the departments. So that's basically the type of work that we do. If we go to the next page. This includes our pending engagements. So there's our risk-based audits. This is the very left column. Our follow-up audits, our department head change, request engagement, and cash shortage audits. You'll see the percent completion and the hours we are estimating to complete the project and when we believe we'll be done with the work. We have we're estimating about 960 hours work that we have for the year, of work that can be done in the year based on our current staffing. So if you look, our estimated hours to complete our current work is about 700 hours. So we have about 260 hours of work that we can take on additional cycle audits or department head engagements. Based on, now I'll go to the next page. Based on our annual risk assessment, the financial data with some deep input from the audit committee, we have updated our suggested the audit plan. As proposed last time in our meeting, solid waste is now in our high risk auditable department. So, and that wasn't there previously. I would like to point your attention to page 4 and 5, Appendix A. And on these pages, you'll see the departments on the very left-hand side, so each of the departments, and the top is, or the columns are the different auditable cycles that we could do. On that page 5, if we look at Solid waste, it's the second from the bottom. You'll see that we did a full cycle, so we did all the cycles of solid waste back in July 15. That doesn't mean that we can't go back and do it again, but we would suggest, instead of doing a full cycle audit or a cycle audit of solid waste, that we go back and do a follow-up audit, which had not been done. That will, I think we're estimating is 80 hours, 80 hours. So of the 260 remaining, we would suggest, propose that we do a follow-up audit of solid waste. It would take up about 80 hours. That would leave us about 180 hours to do another cycle audit. So we would propose a follow-up audit of solid waste and then ask for your direction in doing a cycle audit of one of the higher risk or medium risk auditable departments. We would also suggest that if time allows, at the end of the year, we could do one more cycle audit. So if you would prioritize maybe 2 cycle audits that we could do, that's our suggestion.
I just had a question when I was reviewing this. When was the last audit done? So the last, and you kind of addressed it here in the July of 2015 for solid waste, but for some of the others that have either NA or don't have any comments in those boxes, any of these, can you comment as to when we last?
So these ones would be, we've done in the last 2.5, 3 years?
3 years. This is since the inception of these risk-based audits. So
Okay.
as the cycle stand, we used to do audits in a little bit different approach, that we would do just one department and then everything that within its scope. So this is since we started the risk-based ones, which was July of 2000.
I believe the audit committee was only created in 2015.
Yeah.
And that was in line with when we started doing this risk-based, we
Okay.
started using a different set of standards.
Okay.
That was,
I mean, I agree with you on the doing a follow-up audit for solid waste. I mean, 410 hours for that one department, and it was last looked at on an all-cycle basis not really that long ago.
Yeah.
I think a follow-up is appropriate there. I was looking at the county administrative office, their fiduciary funds, that was done, that's a high risk categorization, so I thought that was important. And then I also thought that on the county council and risk management department head changes, I don't know the volume that necessarily goes through there, so I would probably put that as like a number 2 priority, and I'd put the CAO first, the fiduciary funds.
I think our budget combined is 31.5 million. But, so you've got these categories, like county council and high risk and medium risk, and those are not part of the cash disbursements and the fee generated revenue, that is not part of the department head change audit?
Go ahead.
Essentially, the department head change is a pretty simple, if you will, engagement, that we are only concerned with items that the department head had kind of direct control over. So we look at personal assets, fee returns, things that are kind of a different scope than these are. This is a lot more thorough on the risk base, if that hopefully answers your question.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, say with regard to department head audits, please put in your checklist, file Form 700. Because we don't want to see in the report you didn't file a Form 700 and you didn't say to file a Form 700 to assume the office.
And it is. As soon as we hear that a department head is changing office, we send out an outgoing memo, and that's one of the items listed. And then we follow up as soon as we are engaged to make sure that it is done.
It wasn't previously, so just make sure it's
It
on
is,
there.
it is now.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
A few questions. One, maybe more for Mr. Barrett, as the department representative. But are there, when we look at the list and, you know, seeing different audits for the same department, are there, so the one side, are there efficiencies from the auditor's standpoint as far as conducting, you know, if we're looking at RMA roads, but there's multiple, as far as medium risk or, you know, high risk as far as CAO's office, there's different audits within that. So are there efficiencies that you guys find as far as tackling it from that standpoint? And the flip side of that would be, are there burdens on the department itself if you're having multiple audits that are happening at the same time? They're running concurrently or back to back?
Yeah, I mean, it would be more efficient for us, but for sure, there would be a burden, more of a burden.
Well, I don't expect you to respond to the burden part, but I'm curious as far as the efficiencies. But any thoughts as far as from?
Yeah.
I mean, I would just say as in response, just as I think HSA is a little bit different in terms of the rest of the departments because we are already highly audited anyway, and it's just we have to devote full-time staff to the numerous federal, state, local audits that we're assigned to. I'm not sure what the impacts would be to smaller departments that may not be subjected to those federal, state audits on a routine basis.
And essentially, a lot of the testing that we do, assuming that there's proper support uploaded to the financial statement, financial statement system, AFIN. So as long as there's good support, then a lot of our testing can be done without even asking the department for a lot of the cash disbursement, cash receipt. We just, at times, need clarification, and especially if there isn't good support, then we have to ask more. So the burden, it varies.
Go ahead.
I had a question.
You're acknowledging the power, right?
Yes, I am. I'm scared. That's why I'm
Go ahead.
I had a question on 4 and 5. So the district attorney, the Army General Fund, and the sheriff coroner are listed on the list, but have no information in any of the boxes. What is that?
The appendix was really just to say which ones have been audited. So any of them that have had an audit since we started the risk-based ones are noted. So you'll see those in the dates and years that that audit report was issued. NA is that particular department doesn't have that aspect. So fiduciary cycle, for example, that column commissioner doesn't have a fiduciary fund. So thus that audit isn't an option. So if it hasn't been audited, if it doesn't have any NAs, and if it isn't on the higher medium risk, then nothing will be in the boxes.
Or it could be interpreted as being that the DA got a hold of your little spreadsheet here before you got to present it. Exactly. Because I know how much Dan Underwood likes the audit process.
And the purpose of this really was just to show you all of the potential, the auditable universe, if you will, as standards call it. That way you can see which types of audits the cycle can be done.
But we all have payroll though. So I'm kind of confused by why a sheriff or DA or another what would be at least payroll audited or cash receipt audited. I mean, I'm just kind of trying to understand that. Maybe it's
That's why there isn't an NA in the boxes for most of them under payroll. The ones that do have an NA, county council, for example, on page 4 or 5, they have 2 lines. So we broke it, some of the departments we break down so that we can more efficiently look at different aspects of the department. So their payroll is paid for out of the general fund rather than their insurance funds. So that's why that box says NA.
Good question, Jason. Go ahead.
And my last question that I had is, with all the charts there's a lot of options for auditing. So is there like a plan moving forward that outside of whatever the recommendation is today as far as how to tackle and to move about with the remaining hours, because there's more than enough hours that we have to do? What does that look like?
So we'll do an annual plan, as we've been doing this, trying to do this year. But going forward, we'll do an annual plan. The next one for the next fiscal year will be presented in July at that audit committee meeting. And then we'll essentially, again, talk about how many hours we estimate available for the year and what you would like us to do, ask for your direction. And then each quarterly meeting after that, we're going to start showing you where we're at on that plan, which we haven't been doing thus far, but that way hopefully you can see you directed us to do these particular engagements and then their progress, what percentage complete they are at the date of that quarterly meeting. So hopefully.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
To begin with, I concur with the comments with regard to doing a follow-up audit regarding solid waste. I also concur with doing the CAO's fiduciary fund. Question, is that the CAO's trust funds or anything else?
No, it's not the trust funds, it's just the fiduciary funds. So that's the funds that we keep that aren't actually, that don't truly belong to the county. So it's more of the,
Examples?
I have to look at it for your department. Examples would be if someone gave us money, say a pass-through type example that we're holding it, so it's in a fund, but it doesn't really belong to us. We're just kind of the custodian of it. Does that make sense? So it's those types of scenarios where we're the custodian of funds given to us by someone else and isn't truly the department's money. So it can't be used for anything other than the purpose of what it was given for.
That would be like a grant, as an example, going directly to the CAO, not to a department.
Do they have anything?
Right, and see, I'm struggling for an example
Yeah.
other than the three trust funds over which I have jurisdiction.
And I can't recall off the top of my head which fiduciary funds the CAO's office has.
Well, you estimated 275 hours, so that would be based on some funds to analyze.
High risk.
And high risk.
Yeah, and the high risk was done, some time ago. So it's just been a while since we've looked at that. I apologize.
Very good.
Millennium Fund?
No, that's not the CAO.
That was Denise's idea.
It was my idea.
Yeah,
So I'll take responsibility for that.
Yeah, those funds are accounted for separately. It's just
I wanna
been
give you
some time
credit.
since we came up
No.
I mean, it sounded like it.
No.
Hey, you give me credit
Work
where
for
it's
the
due.
issue.
This is my first
Isn't
song.
it?
Hey, I'm not joking. I'm throwing props at you. You're giving some valuable, additions to this meeting. Thank you, Denise.
The word fiduciary inherently relates to trust.
I believe it's the three trust funds.
That's economic development, litigation, and step up.
Yes.
You don't need 275 hours to review three trust funds for which there's very little in and out, as an observation. Now, focused on an audit.
585.
Does that have a different label than a fiduciary?
Sorry, what was
Does
that?
a trust fund have a different label than a fiduciary?
It depends on the nature of the trust fund, so not all trust funds are fiduciary. Does that make sense? So some departments have a trust fund for other purposes in which they transfer out some of their own funds, and it's not fiduciary. It's not a custodial relationship. It's our money. I think, does HHSA, I think, probably have some trust funds that they transfer some of their funds, and they do belong to HHSA's department. To help out there. So not all fiduciary, not all trust funds are fiduciary. So when we say we're doing a fiduciary, it is trust funds, but it's not all of the department's trust funds in a lot of cases. Just any of their trust funds that are fiduciary in nature is what we're looking at.
In any case, with regard to the CAO's fiduciary funds, I would be interested to know if there are any other funds over which the CAO has custody that need to be reviewed and criticized and criticized.
Okay.
So that's a good guy welcoming criticism. We'll try.
what we do on the toes.
Britt turns the other way, Mike Spada says bring it.
Bring it on.
I'm at it. I'm at it.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I would
Sure.
like to say also, in terms of risk, we've had some turnover in that department, so it may be a good idea to move up that county council risk insurance fee-generated revenue
Yeah.
to be on its municipality.
That's why, I had written that question down. So I think that it's in the 80 hours for solid waste follow-up. Then I would do CAO fiduciary, and then I would do department head change / the county council and risk insurance.
But she wants more than just the department head.
Well, no, that's why I'm saying
Right.
those funds beyond what those, because both those department heads have and will change.
I've had, on page 3, we've lost our risk management, and there are 2 risk funds indicated, and so if there is an issue there,
Yeah.
I would like to know.
And Mr. Chairman and council, your request is very well taken. If for no reason, then our last CalCap agreement with the state controller did have a focus on risk management.
Is that clear direction?
Yeah, if I can just, we have the number 2 under the high risk is the county council risk insurance. And the cycle that we would look at is the cash disbursements.
Yeah.
The other one was the county council risk insurance fee-generated revenue. So if we're going to do the follow-up audit on the solid waste and then the CAO's office, I guess we would want indication of if the cash disbursement is more important than the generated revenue.
What's most important to you?
We would suggest the cash disbursement.
Well, yes, and since you've identified that as high risk, I don't have any reason to disagree with your assessment. You're the experts.
Ooh, look at that. She's saying you're smarter than she is. That's pretty good.
All right.
Good for an attorney to admit that sometimes. Thanks.
But all experts, Mr. Chairman, are subject to cross-examination.
Interrogation harassment, as some may call it.
So,
Any further questions, comments, or concerns? I think we've been clear. All right. Now we're going to move on to item number 8, which is committee members and staff comments. Any committee members have? Whoa,
Chairman,
crap! It's an action item.
that's a really important one that we have to approve.
All right. So with that direction, see, direction isn't good enough for some. So Chair will entertain a motion to formalize the direction that was given as required by Denise.
So I will move to approve the 2016-17 audit plan as amended by the discussion.
It's a great motion,
And I would second that.
and that's a great second. We have a motion by Britt, a second by Peterson. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. There you go, Denise. You got it.
Thank you.
All right, so now we will move on to item number 8, which is committee members and staff comments. Any committee members have any additional comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
if I may, I just want to thank the auditor, controller, and the team. The presentations were excellent. I really enjoyed reading the memos, which were analytical. And I also appreciate very much the collegial discussion of this committee to really ask tough questions, which I think is what we should do, even if it reflects our own departments. Thank you.
Agreed. Yep, about that. Very, very good discussions. This new committee. So you guys are all doing a great job. Any staff comments?
well, this audit committee has really helped us focus in on what the county wants us to
Sure.
focus in on more. Before, we were just picking what we thought was
Yeah.
necessary. And it's changed our procedures quite a bit.
Good.
Thank you, that's very good.
Good.
I appreciate it.
We'll bring an item back to amend the bylaws.
Okay.
And so does the committee want me to send you a copy of the bylaws and see if there's anything else that you noticed, or if you could then each let
Sure.
me know if you're interested in changing anything?
Yeah, that would be fine. Okay, anything else? Any jokes? Okay, Now we'll move on to Supervisor Crocker's favorite item on the agenda. That's item number 9, and that's adjournment. Hope everybody has a nice weekend. Sorry, Rita, that it's not a 3-day weekend. Take care. Yeah, is that an action item, or we good on that?
You know what?
Right there.
In order to keep the costs down, we'd like the binders back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The binders were nice. I got the binder after. Yeah, I had the.
Yeah, there was a few different.
That way, you want to keep it till next time, and we'll give you another one? Okay, and we'll give you another one next time, and bring that back. We're charging.
But it has the little ones.